Come on, you can get up. There you go. Okay. You don't like that chair? Okay, here. Here's a different chair. I cannot make you the perfect chair. Why? Why? Really? Hi, Father Dearest. Happy Father's Day. I miss you. I love you. Think about you every day. Anytime you want to come to the new house, you're more than welcome.
I went to the art gift was the Well, you know, we have in our contributions, we have food and drink section and blog section over at thesuburban.com. And every Monday we run recipes. The most recent ones are summer recipes, obviously, and we just ran a piece on some lovely summer fruit salads. So if you ever need some inspiration for your dinner time or snack, or you're doing some entertaining over the weekend, if you head over to our blog section, we have lots of great recipes of food and drink.
How do you screw up a fruit salad? How do you screw up a fruit salad? Cut up fruit and put it in a bowl and... You got the combination of fruit or the one fruit goes in first?
You got to watch the acidity with the sweet.
Okay. The acidity with the sweet.
Yes.
Okay, from the chef's garden. There's like
right, there's different dressings. You can kind of put different things on them as well. And yeah.
I do brandy on it.
I
do.
put that on every day.
See, Jennifer, don't look down your nose. Don't use driving. You know, he was trying to get one of his comments that he's like pure. And that's what else. Like you never do anything like that. You are not ahead of this at all. I've known you for 30 years, Bonaparte. You can't say that in front of me. What's up?
Well, we do have a really cool project coming up in the paper coming soon. We have our Summer Fun Guide where we're going to be providing readers with some great ideas of things that they can do to stay busy over the summer. Obviously, Montreal is a great city to enjoy those summer months. So every week we'll be covering different things that you can do with your kids of all ages. So it's something to look out for sure.
Water park?
Water parks. So our first piece will be a checklist for when you're packing for that water park. There's a lot of things you want to kind of remember when you go to the water park.
Towels.
Yeah, beyond the towels. Yeah, you got to have a few things for a seamless day. When you're bringing kids, you need to be prepared. So I tried to provide a pretty comprehensive checklist if you're heading over to a water park, and there'll be other articles about sites and different attractions to see in the city all summer long.
Anthony tried to get for you would try like been to a water park at any time. I would pay to see you at a water park.
Going down
the water park. I just it's this call watch girl. You would have water park. Hey, you want dry clothes and towels afterwards. I understand. Actually, can towel at age 6 at a water park. I must go to a water park. My teens. Really? Yeah. No, with a girlfriend.
I see a suburban, like, family building trip this summer.
It wasn't the family.
Suburban family trip to the water park.
The water sports involved.
Excellent. Okay, we'll let it slide for now.
Mark saves the day, as usual. Thanks a lot, Jen.
Thanks, guys.
Pleasure always. In our most recent feature section, Dr. with some tips on tips for summer fun, whether you are staying home or traveling abroad, for example. Always take all your medication with you on board the plane because sometimes things can happen to your baggage. You believe that? True. I know. I everything's around your baggage. It goes to another city, comes a few days late, so have you enough on you. Take enough for the entire time. You'll be away. Sometimes your plans might change. Leave the drugs into the original packaging in case you do stuff like that. Well, literally, the drugs actually, because sure, you want to make sure that you know exactly what you're on. Like whatever you're on. Berkeley, not 54. Real did. Miguel gave him another speech on May 31st. Berkeley, who grew up in Los Angeles, inclined family. His father was history at Pennsylvania. His mother had an MA in education, very involved in the family. Anyways, Berkeley graduate degrees at McGill, as well as his PhD in technology. He now heads one of the top science museums in the US. He's also a PBS science show host. And he basically was all about ancient science, like reading, writing, some basic level of science literacy. So you can talk about climate change and must have not his words, but he's also about making science and careers in science interesting and accessible to all, and inspiring the next generation of scientific minds, kids from minority groups that are underrepresented. If you don't see yourself in careers, you yourself. So that's what life is. We should pick it up and just inspiration of what people have overcome. Okay. That's it. Thank you, sir. Right. My code is very CJ.
Yeah, an update from the CJ 1800 Traffic Center.
Good evening. Happy Father's Day. As we hit the roads right now, the 40 eastbound Deliver Bridge, still 13 minutes before finish until midway across the span. 20 east, to Papelo. Just a few minutes lost over there. Meanwhile, the carry is sluggish raw mountain until Papelo. Metropolitan westbound entrance to St. Louis. A little bit of resistance. So down the Laurentian, it's basically 4 west all the way to the map, just filling in at the Laurentian interchange on the eastbound side. I should just get off the St. Denis exit because something's cooking. Santa Ana on the eastbound and southwestbound side will be closed tonight. Couple of Laurentian on the Virgin and the Canada entrance. You'll be off to carry south by back under the 40 at Devon Shop in TMR. In from the South Shore, cleared out on the 10 west at 35, not so much at 30. Brake tapping through until the tracks. LaFontaine is still some 15 minutes from the Harshal. Prepping made easier with the new Ziploc steel design bags. The only bag that lets you fold, stand, and fill with Ziploc brand bags. CJ, the 800 Traffic Center, it's at 47.
Embark on the ultimate treasure hunt with the Suburban $500 a week gold contest. Uncover the secret code hidden in the Suburban newspaper. Grab your copy at the depots. Crack the code and open for gold. And race to thesuburban.com for your chance to win big. An epic 5-week adventure. 5 winners a week. 5 times $100 to win the best. Get your copy of the Suburban newspaper. Enter online at thesuburban.com.
The neighborhood.
Views expressed in the following program are those of the commentators or commentators, not necessarily those of CJ 800 or Bell Media.
Entertainment and Society News segment of the Suburban Highway is brought to you by Olmex and the Civilizations of the Gulf of Mexico. A fascinating exhibition that lives on the mysterious earliest civilization in Mesoamerica. Presented at the Point Academy Museum until September 15th.
Carol Wiseman, editor of Suburban, back with you for the radio hour. Great friend and colleagues.
Never done
News
a
editor, Mark Levett, sports editor. Now it's time for Entertainment and Society News with Mike Cohen. He's got a very special guest with an absolute legend, Ken. Mike, take it away.
Thanks very much, Beryl. Pleasure to be back on JAD with the Entertainment and Society scene. And yes, in my call FYI magazine, which I recommend listeners go to on our website or go to the section FYI. You can read the stories individually. I have first off my society column. I talk about a lot of the galas that have taken place in recent months. Highlighted by Just for Kids Master Brigade Gala, money for the Montreal Children's Hospital, Foundation, which raises money for children. Children loved one. Lots more in that column. Please Jeremy Wells, writer, National Post, Plains. He wrote a very interesting book about Justin Trudeau. So please give it a read. Will Justin Trudeau run again? Paul Bell says yes. Will Justin Trudeau win the next election? Paul Bell says absolutely not. Sarah Siegel is our closer 2024 spring tour with a special show on Tuesday, June 18th, 9:30 at Quai de Brume on St. Denis. It's her only show in Montreal with a full band this year. She's terrific. And the Fringe Festival, it's over in Montreal Fringe, and we all know what a legend Hurricanes goaltender Ken Dryden is in Montreal. And I got to see the show beyond Ken Dryden over at Saturday show on Ken Dryden and Montreal Canadiens. It really is amazing work. And it got me waxing nostalgic. So I was able to reach Carter, and he agreed to do an interview with me. And we talked about, well, the fact that there was a play about it, but also about his magnificent life, a lawyer, a podcaster, an author, a politician. And Beryl is the guy to Beryl that they all do. So here we go. Here is my interview.
Very possible.
Why am I talking to you now? Why am I doing this story? Because there's Ken Dryden nostalgia in Montreal. We just wrapped up the Montreal Fringe Festival, and Warren Safdie did Beyond Ken Dryden play, basically focused on the fascination with the Montreal Canadians and idolizing Ken Dryden.
Apparently he's a doctor now. Yeah, but like a doctor of like arts or something. I don't fucking know. Like I don't understand.
On Ken Dryden, there was the audience.
Like, really, I thought he was in rehab actually.
There's 60s and 70s. That makes you feel.
Well, and good. I mean, it is a surprise. I mean, when I got an email that he was doing this, I'm glad I only know about it. I would have a very hard time being there and watching it. I would be swerving up through the whole time.
I don't think you would actually. It's not all about Canada. It's really all about the Canadians. I think you'd be touched, and hopefully they'll come to Toronto at some point and you'll be able to see it. You've had such a fascinating life. Lawyer, professional hockey player, author, broadcaster, politician. Is there one of them that sticks out as the one you like the best?
I don't like to think that
Oh,
way.
I know.
And I mean, I guess what I always think, answer questions like that is that, and I think basically anybody, no matter what, what he has done, what we hope is the next thing that we do will be more exciting. It may well not be. It probably won't be. That's not what we do. I have been really lucky in terms of having the chance to do all kinds of interesting things, and almost all of them an entire surprise. I never imagined I was going to be in the NHL. Never as a kid. I fantasized being there when I was a kid, but I never imagined it would result in the NHL or in any of the other things I hated. Writing in high school. I mean, I did as I possibly could. I could never get down to the page. I never come close to getting that down, so I never would be able to. Well, then you work at it.
You never like. It's like it's not a career; it's a sport.
All of these things are surprises, and they are terrific surprises. They're testing, they're challenging. They sometimes work, they sometimes don't. And quite terrific, and I hope that the next thing will be interesting.
Amazing. And listeners can go to the suburban.com on-air section, and you could watch my complete interview with Ken Dryden. Ken, thank you very much for joining us on our CJD program.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Great having Ken Dryden.
Thanks, Mike. That was superb. And now let's go to Montreal's best weather specialist,
with the Suburban Weather Minute here on CJD. We can expect some of the warmest air so far this year for the upcoming few days. A hot new air is expected to develop. The heat I've been mentioning in previous weeks will extend into New England, Ontario, and parts of Quebec. A Bermuda high, which is exactly the south pressure setting up shop over Bermuda. The warm and humid air from the Gulf of Mexico along the periphery. We can expect some showers and thunderstorms to pop up at just about any time, especially as the humidity begins to increase. We're looking at high temperatures in low to mid 30s in some cases, temperatures approaching 40 Celsius. So some heat warnings. So if you need to get that winter air conditioner installed or get your air or the pool looked at, now is the time to do it. Also, a reminder, keep pets and children safe. The cars temperatures increase rather rapidly and includes the are dangerous every year across Canada, across North America. We have fatalities as a result of that. So keep in mind, heat will be quite dangerous this week. We have quite a bit of rainfall in the province over the last few weeks. So far through the month of June up to the 12th, 13th or so, we've had about 40 millimeters of rain here in Montreal. 80 millimeters in other parts of the province. What that has done is lowered the fire risk for the time being. We're running above normal in rainfall. The rain, unfortunately, mostly one weekend here in Montreal. We had quite a few hours of storms. We had a very cool up the dominating weather for most of this past week. Right through Wednesday with stubborn cover and cool temperatures. Note that I need to mention that the upcoming heat wave is the overnight period will remain very warm and humid in the Montreal area. Temperatures will not drop below 20 Celsius Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And in some cases, it even remain in the low 20s in downtown Montreal. So keep that in mind. It will be an uncomfortably warm week coming up. It really starts to look like a very warm summer. You can always get an update on the weather at suburban.com on your blog tab, the Suburban Weather page. Next time, I'm Stephen.
And you're going to get a little bit better all the local sports you need to know about. Very special guest, again related to Canada Paris Olympics. But first, let's see JD Travis.
Entertainment and Society News of the Suburban Radio Hour is brought to you by Olmecs and the Civilizations of the Gulf of Mexico, a fascinating exhibition that lifts the veil on the mysterious earliest known civilization in Mesoamerica, presented at the Pointe Calidad Museum until September 15th.
Embark on the ultimate treasure hunt with the Suburban $500 a week bulk contest. Can you uncover the secret code hidden in the Suburban newspaper? Grab your copy at one of the depots, crack the code that opens the vault, and race to thesuburban.com for your chance to win big. An epic 5-week adventure. 5 winners a week. 5 times $100. Join the quest. Get your copy of the Suburban newspaper. Find the code and enter online at thesuburban.com. Discover, enter, and claim your victory.
Now, an update from the CJ 800 Traffic Center.
Really hard like this if you're coming back into Canada, counting on the crossing at St. Bernard de la Côte. Has got a fresh update from Canada Border Services, and that is clocking in at 30 minutes in from Champlain, New York. Over on the Metropolitan eastbound, that incident in Saint Laurent is history. Damage done, still slow from St. Croix until that point, as it is down the Laurentian Road, Henri Bourassa to the Met, which is just a little slow from the Stinson entrance to St. Croix on the westbound side, which will be closed from the Laurentian Road merge to the Cavendish entrance coming at 11 o'clock to carry some bit of Royalmount to Montreal. Outbound La Fontaine, you're always getting squeezed. 10 minutes, Hochelaga Bend. That via the east approach to west, approaching at 30 over the Champlain Bridge. Slight reduction in speed through until the tracks over there. 40 east over the single lane toward the bridge. It is still a dirty dozen minutes from before the Chemin-des-Chenaux sector until midway across the span. Pretty decent for you on the 20 east heading toward the Gallup. We'll get to the road as we roll along. Becoming expensive. E-Box 100% fiber internet, 500 megabits, $45 a month. Just what you need. Details at ebox.ca. I'm Mark Schuler of the CJD at Transit Center. Your next report.
Embark on the ultimate treasure hunt with the Suburban $500 a week bulk contest. Can you uncover the secret code hidden in the Suburban newspaper? Grab your copy at one of the depots. Crack the code that opens the vault and race to thesuburban.com for your chance to win big. Big 5-week adventure. 5 winners a week. 5 times $100. Join the quest. Get your copy of the Suburban newspaper. Find the code and enter online at thesuburban.com. Discover, enter, and claim your victory.
This sports segment of the Suburban Radio Hour is brought to you by the Montreal Alliance. Get your tickets to professional basketball now at alliancemontreal.ca.
And welcome back, Montreal. Suburban here on the Suburban Radio Hour. colleagues as they go to Mark, Senator. And now we're going to hear from our Senator Mark Ledbetter. Mark, you've got a very special guest. That's right. I've got Beaconsfield's Patrick Hussey. Dedication and hard work has seen him qualify to swim for Canada at the Paris Olympics. Patrick's a long-time member of the Point Claire Swim Club. And Patrick, thank you for taking the time. I know you're preparing for the Olympics. Welcome.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Listen, this is something you got to be pretty excited because you've worked hard for this. You're 23 years old now. You've been in the pool since you were a kid. Point Claire Swimming, member of their club. How did it feel and how long did it take to sink in that you're now going to be an Olympian?
It feels amazing. I think it's still soaking in a little bit. At moments where I'm like, kind of just hits me. I'm like, wow, it really happened. Finally accomplished the dream that I've been dreaming about for a long time. So still soaking it in, but it feels great.
And you accomplished this at the trials they held in Toronto. Was that some of the best swimming that you've seen yourself in the pool?
Yeah, definitely. I hit some. I think I did 3 best times, fastest I've ever been, and glad that it happened on time and so it worked out pretty well.
And you're in your senior year at Chapel Hill in North Carolina. Has your time on that swim team been part of your continuing growth as a swimmer?
Yeah, for sure. I think that I've learned a lot in NCAA. I've gotten a lot stronger and a lot more powerful, so I was able to kind of learn new things in Chapel Hill that helped me get faster.
And what would be your specialty stroke? Because obviously you compete in the different ones. What's your strong suit in the water?
Yeah, my strongest is freestyle. I do a bit of everything, but definitely freestyle is my strongest suit.
And which one are you sort of working on? I'd really like to work on this in case I get the chance to compete in that.
Yeah, for sure. I think the butterfly events, I'm pretty almost there. I think that more steps, and I think that I can probably qualify individually maybe for a butterfly as well.
That's a lot of technique to fly.
Yeah, a lot of technique, a lot of strength. Yeah.
So you're still at Chapel Hill. You're training there. What's the path ahead leading up to leaving for Paris?
Yeah. So right now I'm just training. I'm doing a similar routine that I have been doing because it's been working so well. So I don't want to change anything, but just tightening a few details and making sure I'm ready to go for the Olympics.
What got you into swimming? Was it the good summer programs, your Beaconsfield at the start? Was it the Alps programs with the outdoor summer pools?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I learned my skills there. I always wanted to be the fastest and how many records I could break in Alps swimming. So it was always a lot of fun. Try to be relay, do it individually as well. So I had great times.
Did you swim out?
I swam at I was at Beaconsfield for a while when I was younger, and then I went to Winter for my time at the summer.
It's a long way from those laps to the laps you're going to be doing come August.
Yeah, for sure.
Listen, I want to thank you for taking your time. I wish you the best of luck for everyone cheering on, of course, Canada. And let's see what you can do. Maybe podium. That's what I guess is on top of your mind, eh?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care.
Thanks.
That was great, Mark.
If I'm not mistaken, one or two others associated with the Olympics, the upcoming Olympics.
That's right. Also, there's a couple of others that are going to be on the water polo team. And one from Dollard. It's the athletes. They train. We have the greatest clubs out here, and seem to always make it to the Olympics in winter and summer.
Interesting enough, you got a story on a young fencer. It's not dead. No, it's a very valuable sport.
It hasn't been full yet.
Well, I just said it's an elegance.
Well, a trio of youth fencers from
Now, all of you have been treated to Mark Ledbetter, the King of Blues in Montreal. Has not been spoiled. Yes. Go ahead.
a trio of youth fencers from his Crime Elite Montreal made
podium at the Quebec Provincial Youth Championships. You had Al Halim. He won the U13 Sabre division from a pool of 22 competitors, and his teammate Hasanovic, he earned the bronze medal in the same category. So 2 out of 3 on podium in that. The two teammates actually scored on to the semifinals, and in the match, Al Salim dispatched Hands on You for the championship. You also had Teresa Louis. She won the bronze medal in the U13 Sabre category.
Very good. Oh, no way. Crushed peanut, cracked corn, and berries. I can do all of those. Or I can do salad. Where's my back? What's the matter? Only like our dog. That's what we're looking for. Everything.
Kilometer race.
You cut your face.
Categories, and more than 30 students finished. Top 100 winners with 48 students. And, next week, we'll check in on how the Montreal.
Wait, what? Are we actually talking about hockey right now? What? They're still playing hockey. Yeah, but it's summertime. No more. I thought they already lost.
No.
I thought they they were like talking about the girls hockey and like what's her name? I have her autograph, or probably not anymore, but I had her autograph on my skate bag. They're at the student that used to have Jenny, they fucking demolished it. For what reason? We have LPP, they have like fucking an indoor skating rink. The parents didn't have to like stand in the rink anymore. It's like there's a glass dome, so the parents can stand on the outside of the rink. Probably. Usually. I keep accidentally hitting him on the butt every so often. But that's why I'm starting to lob it. Like I don't like with it like straight anymore. I kept getting the face by accident every once in a while. So now I love it. So like I think it usually hits in the butt, but then they'll like spin around and then they're sitting on it and like they're looking at me like I was like sitting on it, doing it like. I found out for like crushed peanuts, crushed or cracked corn, and berries. I need to cut your face for you, ridiculous.
You look like a walked out.
Where's going with you? You got me a pair of scissors, actually? There should be like 2 pairs on the table. Thank you.
Oh, talking.
Copying the radio.
Conservative leader
Oh,
Leah
Kennedy.
says it was a
Goddamn.
reckless move to deploy a naval ship to dock alongside a Russian warship in Cuba.
Huh?
Defense Minister Bill Blair's office says it was a carefully planned move to increase the naval presence in the region. A spokesperson added that the Canadian warship and a patrol plane were tracking the Russian flotilla to Cuba. The warship's visit to Havana comes as Canada has sent billions in aid and military equipment to Ukraine to help it fight off Russia's invasion. A massive water main break in Calgary has now been repaired.
Yes.
Canadian press reporter Jason White explains the work has now shifted to 5 other problem spots in the pipe.
A robotic inspection of the remaining section of that massive water main that failed has found no more unpleasant surprises. Fixing 5 problem spots already located is being made easier by other utilities sending parts. The head of Calgary's emergency management agency showed a photo today of a large section of pipe being sent up from San Diego. It has the words "Good Luck Calgary" painted on it, followed with a heart.
Until all the repairs are completed,
Did that cost
Calgarians are being
extra?
told they must cut their water consumption by 25% to avoid the city running out. A wildfire that forced the evacuation of a remote town in Northwest Territories has now reached the community. NWT Fire says the blaze is threatening Fort Good Hope, 30 square kilometers on Saturday to an estimated 9 square kilometers on Sunday. Officials say there have been no reports of burning structures. The territory says the fire itself is human caused. It started just under 4 kilometers northeast of the community. Workers at Ontario's primary liquor retailer are one step closer to a potential strike. Union members voted overwhelmingly in favor of a mandate to walk off the job.
The workers are employees of the LCBO, represented by the Ontario Public Service Employees Union. OPSU says 86% of its roughly 10,000 LCBO members spent 4 days voting on possible strike action, and 97% back a walkout if the two sides can hammer out a new collective agreement. There's no immediate timeline on when workers could walk off the job, but the union is promising more information at a Monday evening update. The LCBO issued a statement saying it does not want the strike, but is putting measures in place to, quote, ensure continued customer service if one goes ahead. The two sides are set to continue negotiations this week. Michelle McQuigg, Canadian Press, Toronto.
Tens of thousands of fans have descended on a 3 square kilometer farm campground and concert venue in Tennessee for the Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival. The Red Hot Chili Peppers' headlining performance last night stretched past midnight and the band played some of its biggest hits. The performers include Megan Thee Stallion, Kate the Elephant, and Carly Rae Jepsen. The 4-day annual festival kicked off on Thursday and featured live music from more than 10 stages throughout the night and early into the morning, including sunrise sets. This is the Canadian Press.
From the Travel Center. You're reading Happy Father's Day. Here's what's left in terms of funding launch in South Valley on this side of the net, which still has some residual volume after that earlier incident as Rockland to Santa Monica. Part of that was feeling a bit of a pinch to circle the Stinson exit as you are in the Stinson sector on the westbound side of the right, where there will be a full closure come 11 o'clock from the Metropolitan westbound all the way to the Tecan westbound Cavendish entrance. Volume both sides to carry up until right now. And from the cottage country scene in Scotia on the west, notice it down to 15 from the Laurentians and the outbound Blackwood 36 east will be closed overnight come 10:30. Some will be dealing with a 3 out of 4 lane closure northbound 13 up to Sampson. At that time, Sampson to Westmore's. Rolling along McNabb's Day with Chimney Crave. Show your love with the KFC $35 family special available now. Your next TJ transit work is coming up the Central 10 radio hour at 18 and 840. Is here. Celebrate with the Kia EV6 with 576 horsepower and does 0 to 100 in 3.6 seconds. Mega Kia Broussard with a price reduction and grant of $11,000
$1,500. Experience the Montreal Manufacturing Technology Show at Montreal, 18th to 20th. The show for equipment demo, technologies, happy hours, and Quebec's most manufacturing technology showcase. Save $100 with code radio at nts.ca. Of a refreshing save up to $1,000 during Met Lovers sale. Shop select technology. Stearns and Foster and Zen at metlebanon.ca. Perfect sleep experience. One name to remember. Met Lebanon.
Original House of the Dragon tonight, only on Crane.
Radio Hour from NPR. And today, we're spending our time under the sea. The magic is under the water. We've only just begun to explore. This is Catherine Moore. And over the years, she's worn lots of different hats. I'm an engineer turned surgeon turned global healthcare strategist. Beyond her professional world, Catherine loves adventure, especially in the ocean. I have been a scuba ever since I was in college.
Please.
And I enjoy exploring
that's
it, which
fantastic.
occasionally puts you.
Oh my God, that is the most full thing.
Trust the news media. It would be nice to trust them, but no, I don't. I think the news media is adding to this divisiveness. My trust has been earned in the media. But first, and disinformation is becoming more as we draw closer to the weekend. As part of CPAC's upcoming project focusing on democracy disinformation and protest in this country. Our question. Concerned disinformation could affect Canada's next election.
Because I think most people are not getting their news from credible sources. That's balanced and corrupt.
But I think it's a way from politics that actually looks at political issues. The way that people play everything.
You're gone.
So much of it really have a good grasp of what's going on, especially younger people. I know people can be swayed easily, and you want to bring forward the right information for sure.
And
I find also sometimes too that a certain mind in the media
Pushing your
because
luck.
at the time when
Off the road.
both
Thank
sides
you.
of the story, now they can fit on one stuff, and they may not get the other side of the story.
What are you doing? Oh my god. You get off the phone.
Avoiding the conversation, I'm hurting. I just hope my son look at me how I see my dad, cause to me, he perfect. I done lost a lot of friends in this lifetime, but it's never the right time to break down and cry how I wanna. I'm a man, I'm supposed to be stronger than this. Every day, wake up to that clock, cause why not? Go fake this smile for a while, even though Lord knows it's a lie. My girl granddad had a stroke, she crying. Be there for her, I'm trying. My grandma dying at the same damn time, but let me tell you, goddamn it, I'm fine. And even when I do show emotion, baby, don't trip. You know I'm good. Gotta be strong as a man in the world, and still time to be a black from the hood. I'm glad that he made this song so they can finally understand how the built up, fucked up emotions of a man.
What? Oh my god. What the fuck? Russia is committing an element of genocide by taking Ukrainian kids. You guys are fucking nuts. Like, actually Looney Tunes. That is the craziest shit ever. No, no. You're so crazy though.
litigator turned current Florida in one of these beautiful summer lakes in Florida. I'm going to be doing a podcast with Luke Rutkowski and Adam, the lectern guy, in about 15 minutes at the time of shooting this. So by the time you're watching this, you'll have already seen the podcast. So I hope you know what you think. Some updates. Just some big breaking news. This is June 11th. Tomorrow, as of the time of shooting this vlog, I'm going to be live with Russell Brand at 1:45. It's going to be amazing. I'm predicting the future. It's going to be amazing. So stay tuned for that. But just to cover a story that I talked about during my live stream earlier today, that I think it deserves as much of that big, beautiful spotlight as humanly possible. There was a report that came out of Canada, NCSCI. Okay, exactly what the acronym stands for. It is the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, NSICP. This came out with a report.
If you could quiet the noise, on a soothing soundscape, away on a storm.
Detailing how Canadian politics has been infiltrated by and interfered with by China and India. And the report refers to parliamentarians who have unwittingly and wittingly been facilitating the infiltration and interference of Canadian politics by China and India. Now you have to let that sink in for a little bit because the report is damning, despite the fact that it's wildly heavily redacted, because apparently this is such a national security issue that we can't know which of the parliamentarians are compromising. The parliamentarians in the Canadian government who have been wittingly aiding and abetting the influence of and interference by foreign adversarial nations, China and India in particular. They don't mention them by names, but you can hazard a wild guess. This report comes out and details how media is being used by foreign interests, how foreign nations are buying off the media, the Canadian media, the federally funded Canadian media, the federally bailed out mainstream media, unwittingly and wittingly. Things we've already known for a little while, but you pull life back, and it makes more sense in reverse, even though it has to be lived straight, linearly, time-wise. Remember back when Justin Trudeau was running for Prime Minister, and there's that infamous clip of him now saying that he admires the basic dictatorship of China because they can turn the economy on around to go green because they're a basic dictatorship. He admires them. Just putting all of these pieces together. In the early stages of the COVID pandemic, I'm actually now putting it in the quotes, before it actually got to North America, you may recall that in February of 2020, Justin Trudeau donated, I don't know if it was all of our PPE, personal protective equipment, but a substantial amount of it, 16 tons of PPE, donated to China. Here's the Prime Minister of Canada, who admires the basic dictatorship of China, knowing what is coming down the pipe, because they had more information than the regular lowly citizens had. They knew what was coming down the pipe because COVID hadn't hit yet. It was March 2020 when they shut everything down 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Trudeau knew what was coming down. And instead of equipping our long-term healthcare facilities, Trudeau donated how much we needed PPE to China. And the rationale of rationalizing was that it was in Canada's national best interest to donate our protective equipment to the country from which this COVID originated. They also called it 80% intake deaths and illness in Canada in or around long-term healthcare facilities. And in the beginning of the pandemic, it was revealed that the deaths that occurred in these long-term healthcare facilities occurred because they were ill-prepared, under-equipped, because they didn't have the basic PPE that they needed. The justification for doing the PPE was that it was expired anyhow. And I always say, an expired mask is somehow no mask. As if it's expired dissolves in after a month of being expired. Crap. So Trudeau donates our PPE to China, resulting in 80% of deaths, illness revolving around healthcare facilities that were under-equipped and ill-equipped, and then uses the death toll as an excuse to lock down Canada and turn it into a China. All right. Then you hear the report talk about how the government blackmailing politicians. And And then you recall that back in 2020, there was a raid on a $10 million mansion that was running an
Yes, I do remember.
that had some Chinese national ties to it, running an illegal casino in which there was surveillance within this infrastructure and in which there was sex services being offered.
Je devais faire alors j'essaie de faire une salade aussi avec tout ce qui me reste dans mon frigo. Non seulement c'est des
Illegal gambling, sex services in a surveilled building that attracted, I presume, the elite. It is Epsteinian in its structure, and it's very funny how these things tend to rhyme, albeit they're not identical. But not just that, by the way. Playing it in reverse. Canada infiltrated by China and India. You remember that once upon a time, it was revealed that Canada was training Chinese soldiers on Canadian soil for wintertime combat. Why in the name of God's green earth would we be doing that? Who the hell knows? It was revealed as part of an expose, and immediately embarrassing. The Minister of Defense, what was it? The Minister of Defense, Ajit Sajan, came out and said, we are no longer training Chinese soldiers on Canadian soil. Don't worry, everybody. Ajit Sajan, who you might recall, is accused of having certain Palestinian ties or Palestinian sympathizer. Just fit that into the China and India infiltrating and interfere with Canadian politics. So the Minister of Defense, India, is now saying, don't worry, we're no longer training Chinese soldiers on Canadian soil for wintertime combat. And this guy is alleged to have Palestinian sympathizing ties. Just quick, by the way. And then one last thing that you might recall but might not have noticed. During COVID, or shortly thereafter, two scientists out of a lab in Winnipeg were fired from their positions when it was revealed that they were working for a lab in Wuhan, the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And these two Chinese scientists, Chinese nationals, were fired and fled and are now back in China, apparently working with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Apparently they have patents on things, science, technology related to COVID. Just things that happen in a country that has not been infiltrated by, corrupted by, and taken over by foreign adversarial interests. You have the liberals allegedly having Chinese influence in the election of some of their candidates. Canada has been fully taken over. And this report, which just came out now, we are June 2024, is detailing it. And if you go back and you look at all of the signs, right from Trudeau saying how he loves and admires the basic dictatorship of China, to Trudeau giving China our PPE, killing Canadians. But it was in our best interest now that Trudeau killed Canadians by giving PPE to China. You have Chinese casinos running basically extortion based, while anybody knows, in Canada. There was another part about the Chinese infiltration. I'll get to it in a second if I forget it. The Chinese scientists, I forgot what the lab was. It doesn't matter. We have a country that has been taken over, and Justin Trudeau is at the helm of that ship. And you have politicians who seem to be loyal to foreign nations, China, India, Ukraine, more so than loyal to the people they were hired to represent. This is what Canada has become under Trudeau. It's a bit of a long rant. I'm trying to last one that I cannot. The Chinese police stations. Oh yes, we talked about this at length in the past. Barns on a Sunday night, because they have in America too. These Chinese police stations in Canada, on Canadian soil, all that they're doing is trying to offer support to Chinese nationals in Canada. No, what they're trying to do is offer blackmail, extortion, and coercion, and compliance from Chinese Canadians, Chinese nationals operating within Canada. Put all of these things together, and what you have is a country that has been surrendered to adversarial foreign interests, China and India, and Justin Trudeau is at the helm of this ship as he drives Canada into the proverbial iceberg and allows it to be taken over by foreign adversarial interests. If you didn't know any of this, look it all up. Don't trust me. Verify me, and then you will grow to trust me, because what I tell you is the truth, and we've learned it slowly, piecemeal, over the years. One thing after another, and then you get the bow that ties it all together. No intelligence in our country has been infiltrated by and corrupted by Chinese and Indian interests. Who could have seen that coming? All right, tomorrow, Russell Brand on my channel. Right now, Luke Rutkowski, it's going to be awesome. Make sure that you have your notifications turned on, that you are subscribed to the channel, because it's very notifications turned on compared to those who are subscribed. If you like what I do, you know what to do. like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and more important than anything, exercise, eat healthy, fresh air, sunlight, talk to people in real life, and open your freaking eyes because
I'm supposed to be installing it here. Oh, look, guys. Like, you guys are supposed to be sleeping. Look at that. Radio. You can hear the doing pointing out. Here. Segment. Hey, during the daytime. Sneaky.
I've always wanted to learn how to play piano, but I never had the time. And then I started simply piano.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. And I know you guys are appreciating the fact that we brought this show back during the week. I mean, obviously we did that on purpose, but at least it gives us something to celebrate. Here's what we have coming up for you today. First and foremost, it turns out that Jon Stewart, Candace, unexpectedly, showed me on his show the other day. We also have Miss Alabama. Yeah, obviously you saw the news. We have to talk about that. She is, in fact, clinically obese. We have something to say about that. And Nikki Haley is still clinically psychopathic. But first, let's talk about a clip of Tucker Carlson that's been going around and has so outraged. All that coming up on Candace.
Who, me?
Okay, so there are a lot of topics that we kind of have to cover in the retrospect. And I know one thing that you guys have been up about is the fact that I converted to the Catholic faith. Candace, why? Candace, yay! Candace, yay! I'm not going to get into all of that right now because there is so much I want to say, and I am still very much on a journey, and I am still learning. But one piece of it that was very compelling for me was that my husband, early on, obviously we got married, and I was questioning him about his Catholic faith, said to me, you know, to become a student of history means to become a Catholic. I didn't know what he meant by that. I thought it sounded ridiculous. I thought it sounded very highbrow and English, so to speak, and that's why I'm very highbrow and English. I didn't really start to understand what he meant. And by the way, my husband was also a convert. He grew up in the Anglican church. I didn't understand what he meant until I started studying real American history, I should say. What we learned in school was just so basic. It is so untrue. And when you actually begin to to pursue true knowledge and to read books, not the ones that were mandated to you by the public education system. It sort of blows your mind how little we know. America in particular, we really are a unique nation for many reasons. And now, I believe that we are an extreme psychological experiment that has been going on for a very long time. Think of America as mass formation psychosis. Now, obviously, you know that term from COVID. It began trending, trying to comprehend how it was that so many people did seem to just fall into this psychosis. You had people running around that were scared. People were breathing. You should never pause. You should always pause, rather, and reflect on how tremendously insane it was. There's a couple of years in America, ago, people were walking around seeing children that were breathing and they were upset. They were like, "What are you about? How are you breathing?" We had the pads on the floor. Remember, we went to the grocery store every 6 feet and people were stepping on the pads. And God forbid we got the rice, which was 6 feet ago. And you go, "Okay, around," and the person behind you is like, "No, don't you dare. You're gonna have to go away with the grocery store pads and come back if you forgot something. God forbid you breathe on me." That's what we're talking about when we say mass formation psychosis. The media is going to do this. And I want to be clear, they've been doing this for a very long time. It wasn't always just about policies. It wasn't always about getting people to submit their bodies for another vaccine, even though that is one piece of it. But it was also about topics like religion, faith. You know, recently Tucker Carlson joined Joe Rogan for an amazing sit down. If you haven't seen it, you definitely should. One of the reasons I love Tucker is because he's a bit like me in that we listen to his show. It's like he's just talking to his friends. He has questions. He's asking questions. He's willing to, I guess, fall away from the mainstream narrative, and mainstream media members hate him for that. They hate him for suggesting that they are lying to us all the time, because they are. But he said something really compelling when he was speaking to Joe Rogan. I want to show you what he said, and I want you to really think about it and take a listen.
Okay, specific. August 1945, when we dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and all of a sudden the West is just officially secular for God. There is no God but us. And that's the world that we've grown up in. But that's an anomaly. Like, no one else has ever thought that. There's never been a society that thought that. Every other society has assumed, and they've had all kinds of different explanations, and the details differ, but the core idea does not differ, never has differed from caves until now, that we're being acted on by spiritual forces at all times.
We are being acted on by spiritual forces at all times. And he is correct. Following the dropping of the atomic bomb, suddenly the West completely changed, and we became unique. We became an anomaly in the belief that, no, we're the gods now. No. Science is where it's at. Spiritualism, no way. Faith, no way. Well, let me ask you a question. What if the people that gave us that idea very much understood that it was a lie? It was a psychological effort to make you believe that this was it, that there was no higher power, that there was no such thing as a spirit. Well, then it would allow them to impact your spirit repeatedly. I believe very much, I know very much, that your eyes and your ears are the window to your soul. You have a soul. And if you're listening to dark music, if you are watching things like pornography or watching violent films, it is impacting your spirit, and the people that introduce those things definitely are aware of that. So basically, the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing people that he didn't exist, convincing people that God didn't exist, and maybe we are actually being acted upon by people that worship Satan, people that actually are devilish. When I think about what I was hitting upon on my old show that caused this mass media panic, that caused them to try to really effectively cancel Candace, I realized that I was talking a lot about, psychology and government. I was talking about Sigmund Freud, the father of modern psychology, who was in fact a perverted protected child rapist. I was discussing, as we did on yesterday, Magnus Hirschfeld, the creator of transsexual ideology, which, was left off the table. And I was lied upon. No, she was talking right off the table. No, I'm talking about psychologists. I was also talking about the Diddy lawsuit. I was a very fascinating lawsuit because he was talking about the person who sued him, Hollywood, how it operates, and it very heavily implied that the government is controlling Hollywood. There's some sort of gang that is controlling Hollywood. They freaked out about that. Absolutely. You can't even talk about that. Why is that? And that sort of reminded me in these conversations that I was having offline with Kay when all that stuff was going down. He was saying things to me that I just could not compute. He was talking to me about everybody having a handler in Hollywood, He was calling people the ops. This person is in with the government. And he notoriously said that Diddy was a Fed. He said that publicly. Diddy's a Fed. Diddy's a Fed. And everyone was like, Kanye's crazy. And now we're looking at this lawsuit and we're going, okay, wait a second.
Good job, mister.
Clearly, Diddy was being protected by the government. Clearly, Diddy had a person who could call who would just clean up a mess if he shot someone, which the person in the lawsuit was like, he did. And he was getting cleaned up. He was able to the media to lie about what actually took place at his studio. Again, those are allegations, but they are of some interest. And they're more interested to me than ever before. Now, you have recently seen me promoting this book, Chaos. Show it to you here. Just so you guys know, this was just sent to me on my birthday this year by my friends, and I had no idea what I was getting into. Honestly, you guys, my brain is melted. I don't know what is what in American society, but I do know that the people in our government are in fact evil. It is called Chaos, and the subheading is Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s. It was written by Tom O'Neill, and I'm going to very briefly tell you how the story sets up because it's impressive. You get this guy, he's about to turn 40 years old, and his editor comes to him. He's a writer for Premiere Magazine in Los Angeles or in Hollywood, and he's going to be the 30-year anniversary of the Manson murders, which forever changed Hollywood. Notoriously, it was believed that it ended the hippies era. The murders were so brutal and so disgusting and so jarring and so shocking that all those hippie communes that were all over and everyone wanted to drop out of college and become a hippie automatically ended. People were suddenly buying locks and saying, okay, no, actually, we can't live freely. It's not about love and rock and roll. We need to protect our families. Nobody was experimenting with LSD anymore. And so he gets this assignment from his editor, and Tom O'Neill is like, come on, it's been 30 years. What am I going to tap into here that hasn't already been said? He starts making some calls, and he's kind of shocked by the fact that people seem almost scared to talk to him. I'm going to tell you that you will not be able to put this book down. Chaos is exactly what it is. He ends up realizing that everything the public learned about those murders was a lie. He ends up discovering the CIA was involved. He ends up discovering that the CIA knew Charles Manson. He ends up discovering that Charles Manson himself was a Fed. Charles Manson was experimenting on behalf of the government with LSD, intentionally drugging people, that our government was obsessed with how to create how to control a mind, how to create a mass psychosis. And they were conducting all sorts of illicit experiments on the American people, drugging people that worked at the CIA. This also brings us to MK Ultra. We have discussed this before. The idea that the government is involved in drugging people in an effort to control them. They say MK Ultra ended. He talks all about MK Ultra. Oh, do you think it's ended? Me? No, I don't. Not after the things that Ye told me. Not after reading the text messages that were sent to him from who he says was his quote-unquote handler. Threatening to drug him and send him back to La La Land, telling him he'll never see his kids again. What happened to Britney Spears? I think as a nation, we have to be able to confront the fact that there is truly evil, that demons are real. We cannot, there's no way we can arm ourselves against this sort of evil if we're not even able to acknowledge it, because it is scary. I'm telling you, when I was reading this book, I don't think I've read a book that quickly since the last Harry Potter came out, but I was chilled by not realizing how much evil our government has committed in the past. And I felt certain of the fact that this spiritual draw that I was feeling, which I would say really, really wanting to lean into my faith, that kind of began for me for the last year and a half, I knew that this was the way. This is the only way. We cannot fight demons unless we are willing to acknowledge that they are demons. So I beg of you, get your hands on this book, read it, confront it, and do not read it and walk away from it saddened, feeling like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? What if our government really is this evil? Walk away from it being assured that we already know how this book ends. In the end, goodness wins. That's the truth. In the end, God wins. That's all I'm saying without talking about Hallow. Yes. And I'm so excited to read ads for them, especially and to promote Hallow as an amazing app for any Christian to dive deeper into their life.
No thanks. Well, this sounds like drama.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Free. We have unprecedentedly uncovered what is probably the biggest scandal when it comes to Justin Trudeau, bigger than the Aga Khan, bigger than charity, bigger than his lavish vacations over Christmas breaks that are billed to taxpayers. Foreign interference is at the heart of our issues. It is definitely the roundtable discussion when it comes to Canadian politics. In fact, last Friday on the stream, we broke yet another viewer record. Well, thank you very much to everybody who came out, but make sure you come into our live streams because, man, do we talk about a lot about politics and we talk a lot about what's currently happening in our political state while getting a little bit of feedback from our community. But in that stream, we talked about the report that's come out and why Pierre Poilievre essentially is not reading said report. Now, of course, Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh want to come out and blame Pierre Poilievre and say essentially that, hey, if he doesn't want to read it, then he doesn't care about Canadians. He doesn't care about Canada's future. He doesn't really want to address the issue at hand. Well, what they're doing is baiting him into reading this document because, as you've seen, other political pundits claim that once you read that document, once you're given the super secret security clearance to do so as a party leader, you give up the rights to talk about it. You are not allowed to address anybody's name that is on the list. You're not allowed to talk about anything that came forth in the documents in the unredacted form of this report. But essentially, some MPs, I believe, are breaking that agreement, namely Jagmeet Singh, when he came out last week, when angry reporters were asking him, why are you propping up a corrupt government? Why are you continuing to support the Liberals even though you're standing here saying you don't agree with the corruption of compromised MPs? To which Jagmeet Singh said, well, it's all Pierre Poilievre's fault. It's all them. It's not me. It's Pierre. Pierre doesn't care. It's hypocrisy. At the same time, he outed the Conservative Party by saying some of Pierre's candidates are corrupt. They're included in that report. Isn't that a violation? And furthermore, by propping up the Liberals, despite reading that report and talking about how disgusted he is, doesn't that make him complicit? I would think so. In fact, someone who questions that and somebody that we're going to go through here is a good interview over the weekend with Vashi Kaplos from CTV's Power Play. She's also on Question Period. And despite my judgment of government-paid show prostitutes and Vashi working for CTV, we've seen many reporters from CTV, from CBC, from Global, multiple news outlets that essentially throw softballs at left-leaning parties because, well, they pay the bills. They don't want to rock the boat, so to speak. But Vashi simply, lately at least, has not held back or pulled any punches when it comes to asking the questions that need to be asked. Now, over the weekend, sat down with Jagmeet Singh, CG Question Period, tweeting out, why will the NDP continue to support the Liberals despite its criticism of the Fed's handling of foreign interference? Jagmeet Singh says, I'm worried about foreign interference in an election, so I don't want to cause an election to address foreign interference. He's making a mountain out of a molehill and saying, guys, I'm more concerned about your rights. I'm more concerned about your security. So I'm the hero who's not going to cause an election, even though I'm propping up the guys who are causing foreign interference. Because, well, that'll cause more foreign interference. He's essentially trying to paint himself as jumping on the grenade, so to speak, when in fact he's part of the problem. And I'm willing to bet that there are members of his party addressed in this report as well. Again, time will tell. As we head into the last week of question period before summer break, again, I think over the summer, you're going to see more come out. You're going to see more discussions about this. I think things are going to heat up quite a bit. Let's take a listen to what went on between Vashti and Jagmeet Singh, because the hypocrisy is astounding, especially when talking about his complicity.
What?
Now, just a warning, the audio in this is only on one channel. I don't know why it's on stereo, so I boosted it as much as I can. So my apologies. I'll have subtitles on down below so that you guys can keep up with what's going on. Let's take a listen.
The other thing we talked about was saying that your impression now is that the Prime Minister is essentially okay with a level of foreign interference occurring in this country. That's a pretty serious thing to say. At the same time, you've endorsed his government. You're keeping Trudeau in power as Prime Minister. Doesn't that make you complicit?
I want to make this point really clear. I'm worried about foreign interference in the election. I don't want to call an election to address foreign interference. What I want to do is use my power in the minority government to get answers. I can be very clear. When I was critical of Trudeau, I was equally critical of Pierre Poilievre.
I know.
Neither one. If it was a majority government under Trudeau or a majority government under Pierre Poilievre, neither of them would have allowed for a public inquiry. Both of them have shown behavior when they put the interest of their own party after the country. And there are certain instances that should absolutely call on anyone who cares about our country first. And that's why I was very critical of Pierre Poilievre for not even wanting to know what's in there. But clearly there's allegations of foreign interference directly related to the Conservative leadership races, touching his party directly. He doesn't.
So once again, Jagmeet coming in, pointing out that there are people tied to Conservatives that are in this document. Is he not allowed to do that? Am I missing a point here? Is that not part of his agreement when he reads, as a party leader, when he signs off his parliamentary privilege, that he is not allowed to say those things? I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. It just seems to me like he's discussing things he shouldn't be discussing.
And then Justin Trudeau did know an example that he gave with Mr. Don, which is publicly available. That's why I can use that example. Mr. Don, it was clear that he was given information about foreign interference from intelligence officers and intelligence officials and accepted a certain level of interference because he didn't say that we're going to remove the candidacy of Mr. Don. What I want to point out to Canadians as a leader, that candidate, if someone has done an egregious tweet or post, they're sometimes vetted out.
I get
they
that.
cannot comment.
This isn't just like you did it with a bad
foreign
record.
interference.
This is a fucking serious allegation. Like, you've spent the past 2 days talking about how seriously you are taking it versus other leaders. But you have to see from the vantage point of Canadians how, I get what you're saying, forcing the election right now, maybe not the best avenue, but your agreement doesn't have to remain as a formality. Just because you break out of that agreement and stop your clear endorsement of the government doesn't mean that you have to cause an election. You can still vote with them on certain matters of confidence, but you appear unwilling to do anything to change that agreement. Even if you accuse the Prime Minister who is in power of being okay with a level of foreign interference in our own country's political system.
Well, I think it's factual. The facts being figured out, the fact that he's accepting a certain level of foreign interference when we vet candidates out as leaders based on an egregious post on social media. We should be able to vet out candidates when there is serious allegations of foreign interference. But I want to be clear. We have used our power. We have been very critical of this government and forced them to do things they would not have otherwise done. I think the point that a majority conservative government under Pierre Poilievre or or a majority Liberal government under Justin Trudeau, neither of them would have moved ahead with public inquiry because we can see in their actions they're unwilling to take this seriously, but we forced a public inquiry to happen.
But they're doing nothing right now. Nothing right now.
So let me be very clear. Let me be very clear. We're the first ones to call for a public inquiry. The government said no. And then they said maybe we'll do a special rapporteur. They had a special rapporteur. We had the special rapporteur step down as a result of our opposition motion. We forced the government to report on a public inquiry. And then, not only did we force the public inquiry, we forced a public inquiry to include India after clear information and intelligence related to India's involvement of the killing of Canadian soil. We would use our power to minority government to purposely push for more transparency and clarity, which would have not been there if we had a majority liberal government.
So, Jagmeet Singh essentially saying he's the hero of the day, right? None of the other guys want to talk about this, but I'm the only one who's pushing for a public inquiry. And actually making a very good point. Why are you not disbanding your agreement with the Liberals to support the Liberals? Doesn't mean you have to call an election. What we're seeing here is Jagmeet Singh essentially saying that there's no party you can trust other than the New Democratic Party. That Jagmeet Singh is so open, so transparent that they've used their power, which is debatable. I've said multiple times. Jagmeet Singh is like the kid at the kids' table trying to sit with the adults. He has no power. He has nothing. He thinks that he has power with the Liberals because if he forces an election, it's all over for them. But what the Liberals know, and what all of us know, is that he doesn't have the skills to call an election because it's the end of his career. It's the end of multiple candidates' careers. As soon as that election gets called and he's running at the clock, essentially. Not only did Jagmeet Singh sit down on the election, so did Trudeau's alleged mistress, Melanie Joly, who sat down and once again is under the hot lights of Vashi when discussing foreign interference. Now, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says there are some MPs who are traitors to this country, including himself, after reading the NSI COP report on foreign interference. Melanie Joly insists, oh, there's no traitors in the Liberal caucus, saying, listen, if that was the case, they would be out of the Liberal caucus. Well, here's the problem. And I know this is turning into a lengthy video. I'm trying to be as thorough as we can. She is a liberal saying trust the Liberals. The government is going to investigate the government and find that the government did nothing wrong. Right?
Indeed.
This is insane. If there were Liberals like this in the caucus, they'd be thrown out. So what about Justin Trudeau, who has his admiration for China? Marco Mendocino, what about Han Dong? You remember when Han Dong, Jagmeet Singh used that as a point of backing up his information. Han Dong, when he was first outed, the Liberals defended him. The Liberals said, no, he wouldn't do that. Do you remember when he stood up and resigned and he was crying in the House of Commons? Oh, geez, Han Dong has to step down. No, they wouldn't throw anything out of their caucus. Let's take a listen here, because again, Vashi, again, only one channel of audio. I don't know why, but I'll keep the subtitles on. Let's take a listen.
Start off on the topic of foreign interference. And I want to ask you very, very pointedly. Are there traitors to this country, as Jagmeet Singh put it, in the Liberal caucus? When I hear these words, I feel that it's really hurting our democracy. Because fundamentally, foreign interference is a real thing. It's been happening for years now. It's more of an issue. Information online.
You like your dad?
And we are the country that is the most forward-leading on this issue. We're the only country having a public inquiry on this. And the goal is to shed light on the issue and also to find solution. But the goal is not also to not make it a partisan issue.
So I want to cut in right there because again I don't want to miss the points that are being made. She says, "Well, we're the only ones to have an inquiry about this." What? after it was forced and you said,
Try hard to burp. More effective than we thought it would be.
no. Again, the government should investigate the government. They wanted a rapporteur. Remember how that went during the Emergency Act inquiry? No, we want a special rapporteur who's paid and friends with the liberals who's going to investigate the government when the government did nothing wrong. Again, they think that we're stupid. They think that we believe the garbage that comes out of their mouths.
Is that what you're accusing Jagmeet Singh of doing? Like using that language? No, I'm accusing Jagmeet of doing that. Because fundamentally, what we need to make sure is that everybody has the same facts. So Jagmeet right now, the Conservatives are not taking the briefing on the Foreign Affairs Committee that lots of people have been talking about. That's what we're talking for those watching us right now. And he's not taking the briefing. He doesn't want to have access to confidential, secret information, while other parties, members, other parties have decided to do it. And right now, he's making a partisan issue and also saying basically, if foreign interference is happening in his own caucus, he won't do anything about it. And I think those are very real questions to ask the Conservator and ask the Conservatives, and I'm happy to ask the Conservatives. But my question to you was about the content of what Jagmeet Singh and how it applies to the local caucus in particular. He used the language that there were traitors to this country. I'm asking you very pointedly, and he didn't put an answer whether or not there are any people in the local caucus who are acting on behalf of foreign countries. If that was the case, they would be out of the Liberal caucus, and they should be out of every single party. And that's why my job as Minister of Foreign Affairs, if I see anything that is linked to foreign diplomats not staying in their lane, not abiding by the Vienna Convention, not basically meddling in our democracy, I said hacking. And that's exactly what I did with Huawei last year, a year ago, when I addressed this issue. And I made sure that he was called persona non grata. And Huawei is the former Toronto consul for China. I would.
So, again, she's a traitor. This man is a traitor. Anybody who wants to question why this report should be shown, why they shouldn't be having an inquiry, why we shouldn't be questioning the meddling of security within our country when it comes to foreign interference, they're all traitors. They want to paint Pierre Poilievre as such a team. Like, oh, this is all about him. He doesn't care. He doesn't want this information to come out unless we muzzle him and he reads the document. That's what they're essentially arguing on national television, is this man is a demon because we're not allowed to muzzle him for him to access information that you can never know anything about. Am I the only one that doesn't think it makes any sense? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I think they should jail each and every one of them. They should do a deep dive into all of them. And anybody found with a shred, even if they're conservative, a shred of Chinese involvement, get them out of here. Any kind of foreign interference. I don't care if it's European interference, if it's Russian interference, if it's Chinese, if it's anything American, get them out. We have security in this country for a reason. We need to maintain our elections, our integrity. I don't know what else to say. It's Looney Tunes over there. It's absolute Looney Tunes. Let me know what you guys think down below. And if it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. While you're hitting that button for subscribe, make sure you click your bell for notifications. Join us live here on the channel every Friday night Fringe, where we go over a lot of stuff like this, as well as everything else that happens in the week of politics. And we do some back and forth within our community. Again, guys, we broke a viewer record last week, and it would be great to continue maintaining that. We're breaking past it each and every week here on the live streams. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there. It's definitely the highlight of my week, and I will be looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say is Friday. It starts at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central here on the channel. I hope you guys have yourselves a great rest of your day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. And I'll catch you on the next one.
Check out Timu and start saving more.
Honorable for North Cumberland, Peterborough 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my boring fans out there. And love you all. I want to start this conversation with a quote from Margaret Thatcher, and of course the honourable and fabulous Margaret Thatcher once said, "The problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money." And we've hit that point, Madam Speaker. And it's official. This government has hit rock bottom. Now they will find a way, as they've done with ethics scandals, to find a level below rock bottom. But let's take a look at the facts right now. So when we look at a government, when we look at the way to balance a budget or to bring a fiscal house in order, the government has three levers. One is economic growth. The more the economy grows, the more production there is, the more there is to tax. And then that brings us to the next one, which is revenue. The more revenue there is, the more money that's coming in, the more higher taxes, the more revenue that's coming in. The third part is expenditures. And we've seen, of course, that's the money going out the door. So we have growth with the money coming in the door, coming out the door. Let's sort of take a systematic approach. And we'll start with government expenditures. The reality is, Madam Speaker, is that no government has ever spent anywhere near the amount of money this government will be spending this year in the forecast in their main estimates. So the main estimates presents a spending of a total of $44.92 billion. 191 is to be voted on, and 257 is statutory. Take that and look at where we were at the end of 2015. At the end of 2015, we were spending about $250 billion. That's nearly a doubling of government expenditures in less than 10 years. It's truly a shocking number. And the reality is that could actually be affordable, potentially, if we have the economic growth to back that up. But as you see at the moment, we don't. So the reality is that more Canadians are paying more money. 9 out of 10 in the middle class are paying more. We've seen from the parliamentary budget officer, carbon tax is costing the majority of Canadians money. That's right from the parliamentary budget officer. And we saw, actually, just from their own secret report, that because of the pushing and prodding of actually one of my colleagues there at Finance Committee, we found that they admitted themselves there's $30 billion in additional funds that are coming out of Canadians' pockets in the form of just indirect costs of the carbon tax alone. And we can see that the spending just keeps going and going and going. And the question we'll often hear from the other side of the aisle, well, what would conservatives change? Well, here's a couple of things. I'll just rattle off. $250 million to Asian Infrastructure Bank. $76 million funding awarded in the Green Slush Fund to raise and conflicts of interest. $12 million in eligible contracts. $50 million to MasterCard. $12 million to Loblaws for fridges. And it just goes on and on and on. $200 million to McKinsey. Millions and millions of dollars being wasted by this government. It is truly a fire hose with spending going anywhere and everywhere. So we've seen the expenditures increase. And then before we talk about the increase in taxes, let's talk a little bit about economic growth. The reality is, if an economy is thriving, if an economy is doing well, that will benefit everyone. And depending on how that wealth is split up, there's arguments to be had, and those are arguments that are valuable and should. But there is no revenue coming in, there is no revenue to redistribute. And oftentimes, and worst economic times, who's the most vulnerable. Let's look at this government's economic record. Since 2015, we are looking at a nearly flat, zero growth in GDP per capita. GDP per capita can really be used interchangeably with income because it is a measure of how much every Canadian's economic livelihood on average is increasing. So we've had almost no growth when it comes to the Canadians. We've also seen record numbers of children now falling into poverty. We've seen record numbers of people going to the food banks, including record numbers of children. So we have an economy that is stalled. We have a lost decade here in Canada. This government has, and it's not just me saying what I'm going to say. You can look at John Manley, former Liberal Finance Minister, Bill Morneau, former Liberal Finance Minister, David Dodge, former Liberal, current Liberal, former Governor of the Bank of Canada. These individuals are all saying the same thing. Canada needs to focus more on growth. We need to have our economy grow because as our economy grows, it of course will help our citizens, but it'll help also secure our government. Because the more the government grows means the more the economy grows means the more the government can collect and protect healthcare and other important social safety nets. So, just to sum up, we've actually had record revenue because this government is just obsessed with increasing taxes and increasing the burdens on middle class Canadians. 9 out of 10 is paying more. Of course, their most recent cash grab is a capital gains, of which, of course, they create the fabrication of the fact that it won't be the ultra rich. Nothing could be further from the truth. Of course, the union recently came up opposing it because they realize it. Physicians realize it. Electricians realize it. Mechanics realize it. Canadians who are taking the steps to secure their retirement through a secondary rental property realize it. Parents who are investing in their children because they can't afford a house anymore, so buying a secondary house realize it. This is a cash grab. It's true that there is a limited portion of the population that will realize it a given year. But the reality is only 1% of Canadians will die in a year, but 100% of us will all eventually die. And much the same logic applies to capital gains. So we've seen this government increase the tax burden on the middle class to pay for the Mackenzies and first of all, to pay for $54 billion in interest, which go to wealthy bankers and bondholders. This government is literally robbing the middle class, featuring our most vulnerable in order to help the liberal insider body. And so that's their story on taxation. We've seen what happened in spending, and their growth is equally as bad. And so what is the result of this? Well, the Fraser Institute said that we are in the worst decline of the standard of living in the last 40 years. But I'm thankful for their work. But a simple talking to our neighbors and to our constituents will reveal the same. It used to be, it was almost taken as a given. I know when I was growing up that we would do better than our parents, and that my kids would do better than me. That this was just a reality that was going to happen. Unfortunately, we've seen that reality disappear in front of our very eyes. At this point, being able to afford a house is beyond many Canadians' aspirations, many young folks' aspirations, just really struggling to get by. We're in a place where there are encampments from coast to coast to coast. We're in a place where there are dumpster diving communities who need to get food out of garbage cans. We're in a place where workers are working out of their cars, are living out of their cars. We're in a place where students are living under bridges. This is not right. We can quote all the empirical numbers we want, need to do is go out there and talk to our constituents, and we'll hear just the same. I'm sure whether you're conservative, whether you're liberal, whether you're NDP, we're all hearing the same thing. And so, as I started my speech, Margaret Thatcher once very wisely said, "The problem with socialism is eventually you run on other people's money." And with a debt over $1.3 trillion, with interest payments over $54 billion, with the government incapable of doing the most basic of services like deliver passports, we've hit rock bottom, and I don't want to see what's next for this local government. Thank you very much.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Secretary for the Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member mentioned the most vulnerable, yet his party has voted against medical care for the most vulnerable, child care for families across this country, voted against the school food program, voted against the Canada Child Benefit. Madam Speaker, Canadians who could use investments and supports, they vote against. But who do they stand up for, Madam Speaker? The wealthiest, less than 1% in this country. They are speaking up for saying that they should pay lower tax than, say, someone like a nurse. Madam Speaker, if he cares about the most vulnerable in this country, why at every turn do they vote against measures to support Canadians while protecting their wealthy friends?
The Honourable Member for Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Well, I could go into a policy debate, but the reality is this government's been in power for the last 9 years. There are 55% more children in poverty. There are 0% GDP rates. People can't afford houses. They can't afford food. And they have a child care program that doesn't deliver child care. They have a food program that doesn't deliver food. All they know how to deliver for are liberal insiders.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Shefford. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his speech. But talking about people who need help, we've talked about families, but one of the requests of seniors groups, and his party supported it both at the House and at committee, was C319. People seniors in particular, who need extra help. We need a form of justice because there's been an increase in the OAS for seniors 75 years and older, and I think there's also other seniors under 75 who need more from OAS. Does he still support this bill like his party has done since the beginning? So,
where we have absolute agreement is the fact that seniors aren't doing well because who suffers the most when we have inflation? The reality is, as pointed out, the rate of inflation has increased, but all that high inflation costs are all still big, and other programs just haven't kept up with that. So the best thing we can do for seniors is one, make sure that we have a tight monetary policy to keep inflation under control so that expenses don't get out of control. We need to bring down housing costs for seniors, and we need to look at every possible solution those who built this great country.
Just imagine if we could quietly I got you. Join me on a soothing soundscape adventure. Way down the street on the Ethiopian islands and take in the waves under secluded Brazil. Occupy. Rest over mama. Sleep sound with me. Mary Anderson.
Thank you very much. My colleague says we need to do everything possible to help people with affordability. It's fought for the grocery rebate, fought for dental care, fought for pharmacare, which for people with diabetes can cost $1,000 a month, fought for affordable housing. And unfortunately, Conservatives blocked every single piece of those bills that the NDP brought forward, pushing the government to do the right thing for people. So I'm surprised that we've got Conservatives on the one hand saying we got to use all these tools, and I'm looking at all the tools that actually help people. So why won't Conservatives join with the NDP and make sure that people are being taken care of? There have been thousands of people who have benefited in Conservative ridings from the dental care program. Why doesn't he support these important initiatives?
Yeah, for like Peterborough said.
The reality is that history proves us over the last 100 years that socialism fails every time it's tried. We see it here in Canada. We see people going to food banks and record usage. We see children record levels of poverty. Canadians have never been poor. They can't afford a house. They can't afford food. What will it take for this member to realize that socialism is failing?
Very brief question from the honourable member for Medicine and Consumer.
What the hell?
Yeah, great question from the honourable. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm Ken Leamington. My colleague bookended his speech with a truism quote from Margaret Thatcher. I've been wrestling with another quote, and that comes from Napoleon Bonaparte, who said, "Never ascribe to conspiracy that which can be attributed to incompetence." And I wrestle with this because on the one hand, we have all the spending scandals, the corruption, the crime that this government has inflicted upon the budgets in our economy. On the other hand, we see through the capital gains they proposed the incompetence of that piece of legislation. Could my honourable colleague comment on whether this is competence, incompetence, conspiracy, corruption, all the C's he can think of?
Very briefly, the honourable member for Peterborough said.
Thank you for the tough but fair question. I can confirm this government is both corrupt and incompetent.
That was good.
Now, as far as why I'm so aghast by certainly why I'm so frustrated by the inability of Canadian society to have this conversation is because when you do have issues where social conservatives have been the ones leading the charge, very significant issues, like, for example, against the expansion of assisted suicide in Canada, you get the same people who just completely do not want to engage in any questionable life that try to shut it down. This is an issue, just to remind you of some context. I've talked about this in the past, so I'm going to give 45-second summary here. I have a belief in life as a Christian. I also, as someone who survived a very nearly successful suicide attempt more than 14 years ago, or almost 14 years ago, I have a hugely deep connection to this idea that what the Liberals are doing is atrocious, trying to expand access to assisted suicide, to euthanasia, to whatever you want to call it, to people who are struggling only with a mental illness, not someone with MS whose life is coming to its natural end as it is, but people who may get up one day and decide they don't want to end their life, and instead of them being treated for that, they are met with the government helping. This is my concern about someone with a serious depression, for example, in a regime like what the Liberals are pushing Canada towards. This has been, among other issues connected to assisted suicide, been put under the microscope by a new documentary produced by the Rebel News crew, specifically Kian Simone and Sheila Gunn-Reid. Here's a little glimpse of this.
And I said, how did they come to the conclusion that I was going to die? He said, because they didn't really know what to do with you.
The government of Canada is killing Canadians, and not just the terminally ill. Over 50,000. Over 50,000.
There is a startling new development in the ongoing controversy around veterans being offered medical assistance in dying.
Instead of help, their main program is better than blowing your brains out.
They essentially evicted from our buildings because we were an Asian program.
Canadians are expecting us to get the job done.
Health is refusing to give information, and because of that, the police investigation has to be closed. Therefore, Fraser Health is covering information. We know for a fact that our people responsibility for anything. So it's a financial save, lack of responsibility, and then it's easy to just operate to vulnerable individuals and then
There's some new players in town, and I bought the player.
That is a clip of the trailer for Fade, the Dark Side of Canadian Passion. It came out a couple of weeks ago. The reason I didn't want to do an interview about it is because I wanted to see it first, and I had to wait to do that because I knew they were coming to Elmer, Ontario, a lovely little town not far from me, and I saw it last week at long last, and I didn't make the trailer, but I am in the documentary. I did an interview with Sheila and Ian, which I was very grateful to do, talking about my own experience here. Sheila Gunn-Reid, the editor-in-chief of Rebel News, joins us now. Sheila, I know you've been quite the tour on this, so congratulations and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's been a grueling tour, but I think that documentary has been well received, and sometimes we're sort of met with shock because people who are fundamentally opposed to the government helping you off this mortal coil are surprised at just how bad it is out there. When we decided to make this documentary, and we put a call out for stories, but we also put a call out for fundraising. We did this all entirely without any government help, unlike many documentaries made in this country. But our emails were sort of inundated with people from two sides of the debate. We had people saying, you guys, it's definitely not as bad as you say it is. This is just for people who are in unbearable suffering at the end of their life, and who are we to say that they should suffer more? And then the other 50% of our emails were saying, it's so bad, but it's much worse than you think. And here's my outrageous story. And we thought, boy, we've got to use the 50% of these people to inform the other 50%. And it was the reason the documentary sort of came to life the way it did.
You touch on this there, and I think the documentary deals with this complexity to some extent as well. There's more of a spectrum of opinions on this than a binary. You certainly have your people who are any need whatsoever, any suicide whatsoever. And then you get people on the other side that, the quote-unquote dying with dignity people that basically think it should be no different than, ordering a book off Amazon. You just one day you say, I want it. And there are a lot of shades of gray. People that, for example, would have no issue or at least no legal issue with someone that fits how it was originally presented. Someone who is terminally ill, they're in a lot of pain. People know with near certainty they're going to die, things will not improve, and they voluntarily, in their sound mind, make the decision versus what we're seeing now, which is an expansion to minors, potentially, an expansion to people who have a mental illness, which is by definition a disease of the mind. So if you raise your hand there and acknowledge, where you've been on this, but how do you deal with that issue of where there are people that, are fine with it to a point, but not the point that the government is taking?
We include their voices in the documentary. We try to make the documentary as accessible as possible.
Well, actually, your co-producer himself is not as black and white as you are.
That's exactly it. That's why I love working with Ian, is because he comes to these documentaries with a very open mind. He's there to learn. He's there to listen. And, as I do with everything at Rebel News, I lead with my chin. I tell you exactly where I'm coming from. But we did include the voices of the people who would be okay with made under the first act, that where death is imminent, people are suffering from a terminal illness, and their suffering is to them unbearable. We included, for example, Michelle Sterling. People may know her as communications director of Friends of Science. And her story was so important because her brother was suffering from a terminal degenerative illness that he chose to treat. And the family was very involved. They were not shut out of it. There were interviews to make sure there were no evidence of coercion taking place. It was a very holistic approach. Now, whether you agree with that or not, that's up to the individual. But even for Michelle, where her brother accessed aid versus where it is now, she says in the documentary, I'm mortified. I'm horrified that this is where it's going. And so for religious pro-lifers like me, we were always happy to go this slippery slope. We have to show where it started, and now we'll show where it's ending.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the responses to this, which is that the second is an inevitability from the first. And I think a lot of the activists on this, originally when this was coming up in the Supreme Court, I mean, going back to the Rodriguez case, but more recently the Turner case, they kept it so narrow. And then the second they got that, it all of a sudden
Oh, what are you doing? Yeah. What are you doing? Okay. English? How many mosquitoes? Hello? Hello? Hey, Sam? I don't know. I'm in a puddle. Come. Movie. Yeah, but Domino's makes me sick. I literally died. Yeah. I like Dr. Phil's new show, but the title of it, Fill in the Blanks. Dr. Phil.
Increasingly on social media, which have